Hi, everybody. Unpaid caregivers have been called the invisibles. And I don't know how that can be. They're not invisible to me because their numbers just keep increasing. The latest numbers I've seen now report that 53 million adult Americans are serving in some type of role as an unpaid caregiver of an older family adult. Now, that is a big chunk of our country's population. That is 1 in 5 adults serving an average of 18 hours for care per week. And did you know that 75% of caregivers out there are women? Please also know the number of elderly is increasing and will continue to increase. It's expected to double by 2050. More than 82 million adults will be over age 65 by 2030. And that's only 5 years away. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You really need to prepare yourself, both if you're the one being cared for or the caregiver. It's called the Silver Tsunami. I've mentioned that many times here on Boomer Time. And if any of this sounds like you, then keep listening, especially those of you who are out there caring for a parent or another older family member while raising your own family or working, or maybe all three. I want you to know today that you are valuable. Today, I want to talk about protecting yourself as a caregiver while you're facing the challenge of caring for an older adult. Did you know that it's National Caregiver Month? And it is often an unrecognized role. And it probably be surprised that there's even a month dedicated to caregivers. Well, talking to you caregivers out there today, and I want you to know about your care. That's an often ignored item in the midst of caregiving. And I want to start with two, unfortunately, true stories that may sound familiar to you, especially if you're a caregiver of an older adult or family member. I've heard these types of stories too much. So many of you are in crisis, and there's no other way to explain it. It's tough, and I know personally, I've been walking the walk with you. So have many of my friends. And they've experienced the challenges, and I've heard plenty of the stories. So I have two very close friends who have been undergoing their share of medical challenges this year. One is older, and one is about my age. Both of these stories are hard because both of them find themselves in a similar circumstance. They are really fighting for their lives with chronic illnesses, and they have found themselves back in the hospital over and over again. The way it works is they will receive some treatment and then be discharged from the hospital, waiting on a bed at an area nursing home or skilled care facility. Then maybe they'll spend a few weeks or a few days there, and then it's back to the ER. Even some of them have been spending days in the ER due to a shortage of available beds. One friend said, it's like a war zone. They just want to get out of there. So there is a deep dissatisfaction among individuals 65 and up when it comes to healthcare. There are few options, and they want more available to maximize their quality of life in their golden years. I can't blame them. We've talked about some of that here on Boomer Time as well, aging in place. The system is just so bogged down that it also calls for the attention to you have to have a strong advocate on your side. And it also calls attention to the value of those of you out there who are serving in that role as an unpaid caregiver of an older adult. I want to talk more about the growing dissatisfaction with the quality of care for older adults. And it's not only some of the areas that they're targeting, but it's also some of the conversations that are being born out of that I think would make a really good future episode. But today we're talking about caregivers, and you caregivers really are the captains of this ship trying to steer your loved ones safely through a storm. That's the way I see it. And oftentimes, care is offered to keep an older adult at home, right? Rather than living in assisted living or even a nursing home, which can be financially out of reach. Maybe you don't qualify for government assistance, or your family members just don't want you in that kind of institutionalized care. I understand that too. Caring can be rewarding. Of course, you're following one of the 10 commandments: honor your father and mother, right? And it can be an important time when it comes to family members. You can find healing during that time. But, it can also be hard. An individual might become a caregiver overnight without any preparation, training, or skills, with abrupt alterations in their daily lifestyle, routine, and habits. All those changes can eventually trigger emotional stress, and not to mention the financial burden. In fact, according to that same study, 61% of those family caregivers not only offer unpaid care, but they either work full or part time and are sacrificing their own time, losing income, or maybe even putting aside career opportunities or goals to offer care. Maybe that's you today out there. Maybe you don't see any viable alternative. Maybe you're the only member of your family that's been willing to step up and help your parents. Well, I see that all the time too. And I want you to know today that you are not alone. And you need to take some time to protect yourself, mind, spirit, and body. Protect yourself from something called burnout. It's real. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to keep doing what you're doing day in and day out. And what you're doing, as I've said, is very valuable. Whether it's preparing meals, cleaning, performing household duties, assisting with bathing, dressing, transportation to and from medical appointments, picking up prescriptions, you name it, right? It's all on the list. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about what you can do to care for yourself, the caregiver, when we come back. Well, welcome back. It's been called Valuing the Invaluable by AARP. That's like the invisibles. The reason that they're saying this is because caregivers are doing very valuable work, even though most often they're not being paid for it. Maybe you can relate, because it's often an adult child who works or has children at home or all of that, and is squeezing time in after hours or in between to take care of the needs of an older adult. The work completed by these caregivers was valued at $600 billion in 2021. $600 billion, which was a $130 million increase from just 2 years before that. I'm sure that number is even higher today. It's probably $1 billion. And there are no signs of the need for caregiving slowing down. Actually, it's the opposite, right? So today I'm talking with caregivers out there and recognizing both the value of your work to support and care for older adult family members. It's not easy work, and typically the needs increase over time. And it can be very complex, often leaving little time for you to do anything else, right? Obviously, you have a heart for caring, right? For loved ones and for supporting them and serving them. That's why I want you to think about taking some time, carving out some time on the calendar to care for yourself. I got to do it too. I want you to keep yourself strong, healthy, and calm. Spiritually calm. You need that peace. The demands of caregiving can also cause emotional and physical stress. It's common to feel angry, frustrated, worn out, or even just plain old sad. and it's also common to feel alone. So, caregiver stress can put caregivers at risk of changes in their own health, obviously. As a caregiver, you may not see how your caregiving is affecting your own health and well being. The common signs of caregiver stress include feeling burdened or worrying all the time, feeling tired, sleeping too much or not sleeping enough. Sound familiar? Gaining weight or losing weight, becoming easily irritated or anger, losing interest in the activities that you used to enjoy. And like I said, just feeling sad, or having a headache, other pains or health problems. Maybe you're turning to alcohol or drugs or prescription medicines. And maybe you're missing your own doctor appointments. So, too much stress over time obviously can harm your own health. And as a caregiver, you might feel depressed or anxious. You might not get enough sleep, like I said, or physical activity, or you may not eat a balanced diet. All of these things increase your risk of health conditions like heart disease and diabetes. Did you know that there is even a syndrome associated with caregiver burnout? It's called caregiver stress syndrome, and it includes chronic fatigue, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and all of that can eventually shorten a caregiver's life. So I say that, but I also say there's help available. Maybe you're listening today and you're not a caregiver. Well, guess what? You can offer some help. Do you have an older neighbor where you live who lives nearby? Maybe you can offer to cut their grass or take their garbage out for them. There are lots of opportunities for the community to show its support. And there are a lot of these caregivers out there. Be observant. Ask them how you might help. Make a list of ways in which others can help you if you're a caregiver, right? That could be kind of tough. Maybe you don't even think there is anyone to help. I still want you to do it though, because focus on what you can do. At times, you might feel like you're not doing enough, but I'm here to tell you no one is a perfect caregiver. Believe that you are doing the best you can do and set goals you can reach. Don't take a big, large task on all at once. Take it in small steps. Do it once at a time, right? These are common kind of ideas that you could apply to a lot of things. I apply some of these things to my own business, but I think these are valuable here if you look at it from this standpoint. Make a list of what's most important, right? Follow a daily routine. Have the confidence to say no to things that are draining, you know? Don't offer to host Thanksgiving if you don't really want to do it. It's okay, all right? Get connected. Learn about caregiving resources in our area. Join a support group. People in the support groups know what you're dealing with. They're walking that same road. Oftentimes, they've walked through some of the things you may be experiencing now. I hear these things all the time, and that's part of the reason I created Boomer Time. Is I want this to be a place where you find resources, information, and support. Many caregivers have trouble sleeping. Good sleep is also important for health, right? If you have trouble getting a good night's sleep, I want you to talk to your healthcare professional. Here's another thought I want you to have. Sometimes there is an opportunity to receive income for the caregiving work you're doing. More often than not, it's not anything significant in terms of salary. The average salary in Tennessee for a family caregiver is, ready for this, $13.16 an hour. That's just pitiful, isn't it? More significantly, I've worked with my clients to try to incorporate family caregiving and expectations into an estate plan. And I think part of that planning makes a difference because you're being strategic with your assets. And it's part of the plan. You're planning your future. So I want you to be able to leverage your assets to help you down the road the best they can. And see your healthcare professional so your body stays healthy. If you're a caregiver, you're probably spending a fair amount of time, right, going back and forth to doctor's offices, right? Well, you should think about taking some time to go to your doctor on a regular basis. I do. I just had a conversation with my doctor recently. Talk to him or her. It's just like legal counsel. And you can get that from me as an elder law and estate planning attorney, but your doctors can offer an ear and more often than not, some help. Believe me, they're seeing the same things too. Get the vaccines you need, get regular healthcare screenings, tell your healthcare professional that you're a caregiver. Talk about worries or symptoms that you have. If you're a caregiver, and I've been one too, I know all this sounds easier than said than done, but if you're going to be in this role for the duration, and the average time is usually between 5 and 10 years, you're going to need to make some intentional planning to keep you intact and be able to be there for your family members. There is help available to allow you to take some time for what, is commonly known as respite. And I want to talk about that next. Welcome back to Boomer Time. I'm your host, Nancy Cogar, and today we are talking about caring for caregivers. I am advocating for you because I understand that the role you're in is not easy. And you have to be an advocate for yourself in addition to your family members, okay? I know it may be hard to leave your loved one in the care of someone else, but taking a break can be one of the best things you could do for yourself and the person you're caring for. Like I said, it's called respite care. And that kind of care can include in-home care, where healthcare aides come in and spend time with your loved one or give services or both. There are also adult care centers and programs. They can offer daycare for older adults. That can be life-changing. There's also care for young children. There are short-term nursing homes, some assisted living homes, memory care homes, and nursing homes that accept people who need care for short stays while caregivers are away. And that can be life-changing, save you from burnout. Also, communication, right? Do this when you're rested and you're calm because you want it to be productive communication, where you talk about your limitations with the person that you're caring for. And I know sometimes that can be difficult, but that's when you want to have some professional help. But if you can be honest about your limitations and what you can do, and I recommend that you do it. Ask for help. You can reach out to family and friends for support. Practice mindfulness or pray. Take a breath, listen to yourself. Breathe. I did want to touch on this too. There are a few laws in Tennessee that look at supporting those individuals in caregiving roles, whether it's for a minor or an older adult. So here are a few programs that I want you to know about. There's something called Personal Care Services, or PCS. As part of that, caregivers can receive payment for caring for someone who's eligible for Medicaid. That's long-term care assistance. Those caregivers must be at least 18 years old, a relative of the care recipient, and pass a criminal background check. That just makes sense, right? There's something known as Home and Community-Based Services, HCBS. This is an alternative to being in a nursing home. So caregivers may be eligible for payment through this program too, if the recipient is not eligible for Medicaid. There's another one, Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. Boy, that's a mouthful. Family caregivers of veterans with service-related disabilities or illnesses may be eligible for a monthly stipend. And there's also training and counseling programs available. So like I said, I know this is not easy. And more people out there are going to find themselves in the role that you are now in now, right? As an unpaid caregiver. Here's another fact, right? We're all getting older, and maybe this should cause you to think about what you can do now to alleviate any potential burden on your children as you age. I know I've thought about those things. No doubt, the future of caregiving and healthcare is going to change. It has to. By 2030, like I said, that's only 5 years away. There will be 80 million people in the United States over age 65. Challenges ahead will exist for caregivers. I definitely do not hold all the answers, but I know that proper preparation is key. And that includes estate planning, right? More often than not, the priority is also to stay at home and receive care at home. That's what I hear. So there may be new technology developed to try to help with some of those needs and support. I'm amazed at what I see happening with technology, even in the legal field. And there needs to be more coordination between family members, the caregivers, and the healthcare providers. So I hope you found some of this helpful. Maybe I've talked about some things that you've been thinking about too. And that's important. And I want you to be able to have some help and care for yourself. I also want to note something that I mentioned earlier. That trend where the media is calling unpaid caregivers the invisibles. Know this, you are not invisible. You are not invisible. I see you. The Lord sees you. And I want to thank you this National Caregiver Month, and thank you every day for the important work you're doing, caring for loved ones that may be older, fragile, and vulnerable. In my opinion, you are a hero. You are doing the right thing. You are making a difference. And you will have a voice here on Boomer Time. Thanks for watching today. Remember to go to my website, nancycogar.com, and you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can send me a note there too. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast. Share it with a friend. Okay? And I'll see you next time. Bye.